Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Okay, we are in the last leg of our journey and this practice. Once a person have attained equanimity, and then that person prepare for adaptation. Okay. The part of adaptation is one try to hone into all the insights that one had experienced and be able to get in and get out very quickly to all these stages. By doing so, you are preparing yourself, okay? Or you are adapting yourself to be able to receive what is going to come next. Just like a person is trying to fertile soil, take the rocks out, put the fertilizer in, take the weeds out, and the ground is well prepared for the seed to grow. And while you are in that stage of adaptation, one may experience to you what it seems like a cessations of the mind and matter. So we have already talked about it. There could be false cessation. Some people with samatha meditation claim they have cessation of mind and matter, but nowhere in the scripture could support that claim. In the earlier part of the stages of insight, some people may experience what seems to be cessation of mind and matter, but it is just a very subtle drift away into the thoughts that you don't even know. And the third one is at this stage of insight, stage of equanimity, and in the stage of adaptation, Sankharupekha Jnana and Anuloma Jnana. While you're preparing yourself, one may experience what seems like a cessation of mind and matter. This one is not the true cessation of mind and matter, but it is quite close to what would be coming, quite close to. So one should be quite aware of it, that it could be still a false cessation of mind and matter, but still it is quite good and quite great. And while you are doing so, eventually when you are ready, when you have adapted yourself, then finally you got to the threshold, okay? Kotrabu Jnana. When you got to the threshold, you actually have arrived to a stage which is right at the borderline of two jhana, this ordinary worlding, and the other side is a noble person, Ariya. The two domains right at the borderline, at that threshold. At that threshold, as we have said in the last Dhamma talk, you can actually have seen or have a glimpse of Nibbana. What that means is, at that moment, you will have the first time the true cessation of mind and matter. Both the mind and matter ceased to exist at that time, and that is the true cessation. And when you experience a true cessation, that's a threshold and you pass over. At that moment, that mega citta as path consciousness arises. And along with the path consciousness, there's the path wisdom. Okay, mega jnana, it arises. That mega jnana uprooted a certain level of all the mental defilements. Precisely is all the mental defilements which would take one to be able to reborn in the full willful states. Those kind of mental defilements are all erased, uprooted, and exhausted. No more. That is the true benefits of the turning into the first stage of Ariya, the first stream winner. Those person, the first stage of stream winner, they do not have any consciousness that associated with the gross form of mental defilements, which one could be reborn in the full states. They are not even capable because there's no such consciousness can arise at that stage anymore. So that is the power of the understanding of the path wisdom. And along with it, ones have the right view of samadhi. Samadhi. And also there is no more doubts. Vicikiccha is all gone. No more doubts in the Buddha, Dharma, and the Sangha, and in the law of karma. No more doubt. And that person will never practice. Okay? That is not worthwhile. In other words, any practice which are of the lowly states or very low nature, or the practice which does not contain the Eightfold Noble Path, they will not practice. And at that stage, that person have truly achieved the full and complete, real Eightfold Noble Path. We may be practicing Eightfold Noble Path, but it is on a practice level. But we do not truly attain or achieve the Eightfold Noble Path yet. Only when you have the path consciousness, then one can say that I have true Eightfold Noble Path. So that is when you got it. So to be able to achieve that, what do? We practice Vipassana meditation or Satipatthana Vipassana meditation. We go and experience all the specific characteristics and common characteristics of mind and matter. We experience throughout the practice. Once we experience it, we truly understand the true nature of mind and matter. And eventually, as you understood the true nature of mind and matter, there is no more clinging, and you achieve a state where the cessation of mind and matter arises in you. We practice these things. So that person truly understands mind and matter. And all these things, understanding of mind and matter in every aspect, both specific and general, leads up to the understanding, the true understanding of the Four Noble Truth, the Four Noble Truth. Of course, everybody who start reading the books and talk about Buddhism, they understand. Okay, they have read it, or what are these Four Noble Truths? the noble fruit of the truth of the suffering, the noble fruit of the cause of the suffering, and also the noble truth of the cessation of the suffering, and the noble truth of the ways that leads to the cessation of of the suffering, both physical and mental. We understand intellectually, everybody who knows a little bit about Buddhism knows this Four Noble Truth, but only when you have attained the cessation of the mind and matter and attained Sotapanna, the first stream winner, okay, noble person status. Only then one truly fully understand the Four Noble Truth. So that is where we all leads to. And this Four Noble Truth, in a way, that is Buddhism. Buddha discovered it. He practiced this Satipatthana Vipassana. He went through all these stages of understanding of mind and matter. He attained the cessation of mind and matter. And then finally, he experienced the cessation of mind and matter. That's experiencing the cessation of mind and matter is Nibbana, one of the Four Noble Truths, which is the Niyora Sessa in Pali, Niyora Sessa, in which all physical and mental suffering cease to exist, Niyora Sessa. Of course, while you become a first stream winner, you are still a human, you still have this body, you still have this mind. But when you meditate, and when you go into that stage, okay, Palasamapa, which is you go into the experience, the fruition of this path consciousness. At that moment when you are there, you take this Nibbana as an object of meditation. You experience the Nibbana, states of the end of all form of suffering. And sometimes you can stay in there for a certain period of time and you can come out. When you come out, you are still here. So if somebody is looking at that person, nothing changes. The same body, the same mind, the same guy that I know, the same girl that I know. It's the same thing. But one has attained. When it attained, at that moment, when you are in meditation, when you are in a fruition path stage, you took Nibbana as an object of meditation. Because there is no more mind and there is no more matter, Nibbana is the object. So that is the third noble truth, okay, Nibbana as an object, the third noble truth. So the Buddha experienced practice, he experienced this extinction of all mind and matter, or extinction of all physical and mental suffering. And then he reflected upon it and see how it is. And what he knows is, he found out, okay, this suffering, okay, because he experienced the end of all form of suffering. Which means, before that, there's always suffering exists. And why does this suffering exist? Because that suffering exists because there is the mind and the matter. There is the mind and the matter. Because of that, suffering exists. So the mind is the suffering, the matter is the suffering, mind and matter are suffering. So as long as this mind and matter exists, there is suffering. So that's why he stated the first noble truth is the noble truth of suffering, dukkha, sissa. In other words, as long as the mind and matter exist, suffering will exist. Okay? In other words, what's the mind and matter? That is life, that is existent. As long as we hang on to this existent, suffering will exist. Only when one can achieve the cessation of the mind and matter, this physical and mental suffering will cease to exist. So we truly know, that's how one truly knows the noble truth of suffering. So that's why a lot of people say at a glance, okay, Buddhism is very pessimistic. Life is suffering. Life is suffering. So we will later discuss in detail what the Buddhists meant by life is suffering. Today we'll just go through this, the full noble truth that we come to understand through the end of the practice. In other words, what you have when you have experienced all the 13 stages of insight by using Satipatthana, Vipassana, mindfulness, insight meditation as a tool. So that is the noble truth of suffering. And then, of course, why does this suffering exist? Or why does this mind and matter exist? Why does life exist? You, I, me exist. Okay, what is you, I, me? You, I, me is basically a self. Id, ego, self, soul, spirit exists. And what it is he found out what the reason is. It is the craving, okay, craving or attachment. Due to craving or attachment, this suffering exists. Due to craving or attachment. That craving or attachment is the cause of suffering. That is the second noble truth. Noble truth of the cause of suffering, niyora sissa, and samudaya sissa, which is the attachment. It's called tanha. And look at it. Why one is look at it? You are observing, let's say you are observing your abdominal movement. You are observing the movement, rising movement, falling movement, and everything, lifting, pushing, dropping, touching, cold, hot, and so on and so forth. And while you are observing it, think about that way, this way. You're observing, you're still aware of the movement, you're aware of your abdomen, stomach, you're aware of your body. In other words, you're aware of yourself. When you're aware of yourself at that time, if there's a discomfort come in, you don't like it, you want to change it. If there's a pleasant sensation and pleasant sights and vision comes and you love it, you are still going round and round through the stages of this craving or aversion. Okay, craving for what? Craving for comfort, craving for pleasantness. And aversion, what is aversion? Not liking, not craving. But aversion is a mental state. The aversion arises because you have lost the comfort. Aversion arises due to the craving of the one, the comfort that you have missed or that disappear. Basically, aversion is also craving. Okay? Wanting, desire, wanting to have is also craving. Both lobha and dosa, which is greed and aversion or anger, arises out of craving in one way or the other way. Because you're fully aware of yourself, your body, your knees, your back, your pain, your discomfort, all the itchies. And then suddenly, let's put it another way. Now you have practiced so much, you come to a stage you would be able to meditate quite well enough to experience the insight stages. Don't even think about higher level. Let's look at it even at the lower level. You observe, you know this is the body and this is the mind. You know there's the movement. And finally, you simply are aware of only the movement. Okay? Rising movement, falling movement, lifting movement. At that moment, your meditation concentration is deep enough. You are not aware of the form anymore. Not aware of the form is, you are not aware of the body anymore. You are not identifying yourself with the body anymore. But at the same time, that movement is the body. That movement is the matter. Okay? But you do not identify as this form, this body, that's me, that's my tummy, that's mine. You're aware of the matter, but you're aware of the matter in the ultimate sense. Simply vibration. You're fully aware of the matter, you are observing the body, but you are not understanding or perceiving as this form, this shape, this body, but simply this body is a matter, this is simply a vibration, this is simply heat, temperature, hot and cold, there is stiffness, and so on. You know the true nature. That body is, in a stricter sense, it's a matter. That matter, it's the strictest sense, is simply vibration, temperature, pressure, hardness, softness, cohesion, dispersion. Your mind is perceiving at every observation only in that sense. When you are observing and knowing at that sense, at that stage, you do not have any attachment to the vibration, you do not have any attachment to the hot and cold and hard and soft. Needless to say about the body, because the body is not in the awareness anymore. You know this body in the ultimate sense. At that moment, you have no attachment to the vibration, no attachment to the temperature, no attachment to the cohesion and dispersion or any physical properties of a matter. You have no attachment. As there is no attachment, at that moment you have no suffering. See? That's why attachment is the cause and suffering is the effect. And how do you dispel that attachment? How did you get rid of this attachment? You do not identify what we call you and me in a sense of a body or I or a it. You see that in the true nature as it really is. On the matter is physical matter, is just the four elements. Hard, soft, hot, cold, vibrate, move, disperse, cohese. See, when you understand the true nature, the attachment is dropped. When the attachment is dropped, there is no more suffering. But all the things that you consider suffering, pain and stiffness and sweating and numbness and tingling, they don't disappear, they exist. It is not that you got into that stage and they suddenly disappear. They do exist, but you see them in their true nature. You don't identify with yourself. You don't identify with it, ego and self, a person, individuality, or a being. That's a difference. So that is what Buddhas found out. He said, craving is the cause, suffering is the effect. Cause and effect. Simply, it is the work of causal relationship or conditional relationship. That's it. So, the first two noble truths, one is called samudaya sissa, okay, the truth of the cause of suffering, samudaya sissa. In other words, attachment or craving. That is the cause. And because of the attachment, suffering arises, suffering or dukkha, or unpleasantness or unsatisfactoriness arises. And that is the first noble truth. So there's a relationship between the first two noble truths. Relationship is the cause of the suffering. The cause of the suffering. Noble truth number 2 is the cause. And the suffering, the first noble truth, is the effect. That's how the two coexist together. And for the cause of the suffering, one must eliminate or one must abandon. Okay? If you don't know how to eliminate the cause of suffering or the attachment, if you don't abandon the attachment, suffering will always exist. You can't get rid of suffering. So the second noble truth is something that one must abandon or one must eliminate. Only when you eliminate or abandon, then the first noble truth, suffering will be overcome. So the second noble truth is to abandon. And the first noble truth, suffering, is suffering about what? Suffering about our life, suffering about our existence. And how many of us, every day we move around, roam around, thinking that we are suffering? No, we just move on, we march on. We have our goals, objective. We have to finish this course, we have to finish that course, we have to finish this project or that project. And everything, there's something to do, something to do, something to overcome, something to achieve. In terms of money, in terms of fame, in terms of fortune, in terms of power, in terms of intellectual satisfaction. I. To feed that I, we are always moving on and moving on, marching every day. My project, my business, my creation. What is this? That is self, 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 self. And how many of us think we are suffering? None of us. Of course, when there's a hiccup, when there's a little bit of a dip in whatever you are doing, stress come in. And when it is big enough, then you can say, I'm really suffering, I'm really stressed out. But at the same time, you keep on pushing, and when always thinking and hoping for the success and completion, defeat this id, ego, I. Okay? Defeat this, and we move on. And in a way, we try to live as comfortable as we can in our life, and we think our life is good, life is not bad. Yeah, there are of course goods and bads, ups and downs, but it's not so bad. Okay, I have my relationship, I have my business, I have my success, I'm well fed, I'm warm, I have a shelter, and so on. You think in every way, whichever way you could, and you justify that life is good and life is worthwhile living and life is pleasant. That is the way we moved, even though we don't truly think, deeply think that way, we act and we behave that way all the time. So, suffering. How can that, the first noble truth, suffering, life is suffering, can be applied to us? We can't. Regardless how much whoever said it is, Buddha said it, or whoever said it, we won't be able to accept it. Intellectually, we may be able to accept it, but we can't accept it. So, first and foremost, to abandon that craving, to uproot that craving, one must truly understand. One must truly understand and one must truly experience suffering, dukkha. Suffering, dukkha. Okay? Life is dukkha. Existence is dukkha. In other words, mind and matter is dukkha. Mind and matter is suffering. Not theoretically, not intellectually, but now you have to experience that what mind and matter is dukkha, suffering, on an experiential level. Okay? To understand that on an experiential level, you have to use mindfulness as a tool and practice vipassana. And when you practice and when you develop and progress stage by stage and space by stage, in those throughout the stages, okay, you will come to understand, you will experience mind is suffering, matter is suffering. You must thoroughly understand the mind and matter or life is suffering. Only when you experience that way, only when you understand that way experientially, then you want to get rid of it. Otherwise, we won't. We have a big house, we have a big car, we have a big, beautiful children and spouse and family and social and success. How can we? But when you understand truly mind and matter is suffering, then you want to get rid of the suffering. In other words, you want to get rid of the mind and matter. In other words, you want to get rid of the concept of I, the concept of self, the concept of soul. That's what you want to get rid of it. To get rid of it, you must truly understand experientially and realize it is truly suffering. And when you truly understand that, then you want to get rid of it. When you want to get rid of it, the Buddha gave us the cause. You can't simply pick up the suffering and throw away. You must cut its root. The root is craving or attachment. That's why the first noble truth is to understand, to experience. The second noble truth is to abandon or uproot. And these two are related in a cause and effect matter. And these two noble truths are of Lokiya. Lokiya means of this mundane world. And when you abandon the craving and attachment, suffering cease to exist. When we say suffering cease to exist, that means the concept of I is dissolved. That means mind and matter ceased. That's why it said cessation of mind and matter. When you experience the cessation of mind and matter, you realize the third noble truth, Nibbana, Niyora Sissa, the truth of the end of all physical and mental suffering, the third noble truth, Niyora Sissa, everybody use the term Nibbana or Nirvana in Sanskrit, Nibbana in Pali. That is when you have this third noble truth. That third noble truth can be experienced only when you have the true cessation of mind and matter. In other words, when you become at least the first noble person, Sotapanna, or the first string winner. At that moment, you actually realized this Nibbana, the true cessation of mind and matter, or the end of both physical and mental suffering. Nibbana, that is the third noble truth. And this third noble truth is not in the realm of mind and matter. Okay? Mind and matter, we call it the Lokiya or mundane world. This Nibbana is beyond, out of this, the realm of mind and matter. Mind and matter do exist, but it exists in its own realm, in its own domain. Nibbana exists in the realm where there is no mind and matter exists, but Nibbana do exist. And it can only be realized. It can only be realized. As long as you are in the first stage, you still have the mind and body, but you can get into that stage. Second stage, Sakadagami, one returner or once returner. You can experience it, but you still have this mind and body. But you have uprooted a lot of mental defilements, gross as well as the very, very subtle form of mental defilements. You have only a few very subtle, very light and fine mental defilement. You still exist, and as a second noble person. And you reach to a stage of third noble person, Anagami or Anagan, which is the non-returner. That person will never be reborn in the sensual realm, such as human or such as Deva or celestial. They will never be reborn. Those two domains, human domains and the domain of the celestial beings, are the sensual realm. They enjoy, they communicate, they live and understand through the five senses. And at that anagam, you have uprooted totally and entirely all dosa. Dosa, that means anger, any form of anger, from the slightest dissatisfaction, irritation, to the intense hate and ill will. Not a trace of ill will exists in that. They have totally abandoned. And also a lot of this lobha, greed, is abandoned, but they still have a slight degree of guilt, greed there. They still have the craving or attachment to existence. They still have craving or attachment to existence. And also they still have a certain type of conceit. Those two mental defilements, those specific mental defilements still exist. Attachment to existence and attachment to conceit. Conceit about what? Conceit about I know, I understand, the attainment of the Dharma to the highest, right to the highest level. That they still have pride in it, that's the conceit. And those two are dropped only when you got to the fourth stage, arhatship. Okay? When you become a arhata or arhata magga, then everything is totally dissolved. That is when you get. And in those four stages of noble person, one can always take Nibbana as a meditation object, and you can stay in that mode. And when you come out, of course, you come up to the world of the nama and rupa. But you can, in a deep meditation, you can take this nibbana as an object of meditation. So that is the third noble truth. And of course, Buddha just doesn't say, oh, life is suffering, okay, get rid of this attachment and gone, and then you will have all the suffering gone. Okay? If you look up to the end of all the physical and mental suffering permanently gone, then you cannot say it is pessimistic. It is pessimistic up to a certain point. You use that pessimism to attain, to reach what you want, and that is called it as supreme peace or santi sukha. That's what's it called. And he just doesn't stop there. Somebody says, okay, be a good guy and you'll get to heaven and that's it. It just doesn't say that. He points out how life is. He shows you what causes it, and he also pointed out, but one has to realize yourself the end of all these things. And most of all, his greatest contribution is how to achieve that goal. How to achieve that goal. And how to achieve that goal is the first or the fourth noble truth. It is called Eightfold Noble Path. You all have heard it. This Eightfold Noble Path is the fourth noble truth. They call it Magga Sissa. Sissa is the truth, Magga is the path. Okay? So, the noble truth, the Eightfold Noble Truth, or you can, this is the official translation. You use the word path, Eightfold Noble Path. But actually, it is the 8 factors one need to practice. Or you can call it Eightfold Practice. Or you can call it 8 factors. You can call it 8 constituents that people need to practice and live by. But translation is called path, Eightfold Noble Path. Because in our world, okay, we can divide it into generally a domain. One domain is a domain where there's a constant suffering exists. Constant suffering exists. And second domain is where a lot of the pleasure exists. Celestial worlds and human world, especially in the celestial world, is pleasure, pleasure, pleasure. And the full woeful state is suffering, suffering, suffering. And then there's another domain in which there is, basically, you live with peace. Okay? Rapture, joy, and peace. That is another domain. And there's another domain, but it's not in space and time. It's called Nibbana. So there are full, let's call it full destination, constant suffering station, and the pleasure station, and the bliss station, and the nothingness station, you can call it. Full station, full destination. And each station, each destination has a road that one must travel to get there. If you go onto that road, you will get that destination. If you want to go to the constant state of suffering, you practice what? The totally hurtful, harmful, cruel, violent, in other words, simply put, like a 5 precepts, these kind of gross form of mental defilements. That path will take you to that destination. And second one is you observe sila, morality, and you do a lot of generosity. Okay? Sila and dana. If you take that path, you will arrive to the destination of human domain and the celestial domain. That's their part. There's two different parts. And the third part, you practice what? Deep concentration, samadhi. Okay? Deep concentration, that is another part. And if you follow that path, deep concentration, you will arrive to these states of rapture and joy. In that realm, in that destination, they don't care and they don't have the five senses. They live in bliss, in mental states of peace and rapture. That's called Brahman world. So if you want to go there, they have their own road or own path set. And another one is Nibbana. If you want that Nibbana as a destination, there's a road. And that road is discovered by the Buddha, which consists of eight constituents or eight factors. And if you follow that road, you will get to that destination. Each destination has its own path, own path and own characteristics. It is just a matter of where you want to go, and where you want to go, you just simply take that road. So in here, Buddha mapped out this path, which consists of these eight factors. Okay, 8 factors, and what are they? Called samadhi, the correct view, sammasankappa, the right thought. And those two are called the wisdom group. And then sammakamanta, correct action, correct deeds. Samma asiva, correct speech. And samma ajiva. Samma ajiva is correct livelihood. So kamanta, vasa, and ajiva. And that is a morality group. And the third one is samma viriya, correct effort. Samma sati, correct mindfulness. And samma samadhi, correct concentration. That is the concentration group. And if you walk the path, if you practice these 8 factors, okay, from the A to Z, if you follow and if you trot in that road, you will get to the destination of Nibbana. Nibbana is beyond time and space. Nibbana is beyond mind and matter. But it does exist. So that is the fourth noble truth, which is the roadmap to the destination of Nibbana. And these 4 noble truths, the Buddha taught us. In fact, he taught us, and the first sermon he taught after he got fully enlightened is the turning of the wheel of Dharma, setting in motion the wheel of Dharma, or Dhammacakka Pavattana. That's the first sermon he taught us. In fact, he taught to the 5 ascetics, who actually was looking after him while he was practicing before he became a Buddha, while he was practicing intense austerity programs. He practiced in such a way he only has skins and bones. He starved himself from food, he starved himself from water, he even starved himself from air, from breathing. To that extreme he practiced. That's why the Buddha started his first sermon with avoid the 2 extremes. And what is the 2 extremes? One extreme is to be devoted, to be in devotion to the sense pleasure, to live for the sense pleasure. And the other extreme is avoid austerity programs and austerity practice. These 2 extremes will not get you to the end of all physical and mental suffering. And then there is a path somewhere in the middle. That's why it's called the middle path or the middle way. And what is this middle path? Middle path is the path where these 8 constituents or 8 factors of practice, which we just mentioned, it exist. Without that 8 constitution, one cannot get to the destination of Nibbana. Any method you want to practice, fine. Anything you want to do, fine. As long as that what you are doing consists of these 8-fold factors or 8 constitutions, you will achieve Nibbana, which is the end of all form of suffering, physical and mental. So that's how this Four Noble Path, which is the core of Buddha's teaching, and he taught it in the first sermon. And after that, for 45 years after that sermon, he taught and he taught and he taught everybody who wants to learn from him, and everything falls under the umbrella of these Four Noble Truths. They never get out of the umbrella of this Four Noble Truth. So may all of you be able to practice Satipatthana Vipassana meditation precisely and correctly, and may you be able to attain or realize the state of Nibbana as soon as possible. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Buddham pujemi, Dhammam pujemi, Sangham pujemi,